In this episode, number 34, of Rambles with Robin and Ruby, we visit the historic town of Fortymile in Yukon. Fortymile is located at the junction between the Fortymile River and the Yukon River, about 67 kilometers or 42 miles upstream from the Alaska-Yukon border, and about 88 kilometers or 55 miles downriver from Dawson City. The Fortymile town site is part of the Fortymile, Fort Cudahy, and Fort Constantine historic site. Generations of First Nation people camped at the mouth of the Fortymile River to hunt and fish in the area long before the Europeans arrived seeking gold. Join us as we drive the infamous top-of-the-world highway to visit the rustic but historic Fortymile town site. The first part of our trip to Fortymile area is via the top of the world highway. The top of the world highway runs from the banks of the Yukon River at Dawson City to Jack Wade in Alaska, USA. The top of the world highway is 127 kilometers or 79 miles long, and it's almost entirely gravel. The highway has been in existence since 1955 and is only open during the summer months. It is named the Top of the World Highway because it skirts the crests of these hills, giving excellent views down into the adjacent valleys. And there are many areas where you can park and hike this tundra area. The scenery is just fabulous. About 55 kilometers or 35 miles from Dawson City, there's an access road that turns north off the top of the world highway to an old mine named Clinton Creek and to the 40-mile historic area. After following that rough, narrow gravel road for an additional 32 kilometers or 20 miles, you finally arrive at the 40-mile parking area. The 40-mile town site sits on a river terrace built up over many years by floods of both the Yukon and 40-mile rivers. The area containing 40-mile lies within the land called Beringia. Beringia was not covered by ice sheets during the last ice age, but the area was cold and dry. Beringia extended from Yukon across the present Bering Strait. It was a land bridge that connected Siberia with North America, and ancestral humans crossed that land bridge from Asia and Siberia into North America more than 11,000 years ago. In fact, artifacts more than 2,000 years old, created by these ancestral people, have been found at 40-mile. I acknowledge that photos of old buildings without a historical context are just photos. Unfortunately, in this video, I can't do justice to the Trondheim or European cultural and historical details as they relate to the 40-mile area. But there are two very good resources that you should check out if interested. The first is the 40-mile Fort Cudahy Fort Constantine Historic Site 2007 Interpretive Plan. The second is the 2011 40-mile Geological Guide booklet. Both are available online. Both provide excellent cultural and historical context for the area. Did you know that 40-mile is Yukon's first town? In the Han language, 40-mile River is known as Cudahy, meaning Creek of Leaves. In 1886, placer gold in the 40-mile River attracted miners and traders to the area. This was Yukon's first major gold strike and the start of 40-mile. In 1894, 8 years after the discovery of gold on Fortymile River, the Royal Northwest Mounted Police dispatched Inspector Charles Constantine and Staff Sergeant Charles Brown to Fortymile as a show of Canadian sovereignty because the Canadian-U.S. border had not yet been surveyed. They also arrived to investigate concerns raised about law, order, and mistreatment of the First Nation people. Inspector Constantine, with his wife and son, returned to Fortymile in 1895 with 19 Mounties. They built the fort named after Inspector Charles Constantine across the Fortymile River near the American trading post called Fort Cudahy. At the time, Fort Constantine was Yukon's first Royal Northwest Mounted Police post. It was the first step in the Canadian governance of the far northwest. During our visits, it was not possible to visit Fort Constantine because the area is marshy and very little remains of the fort or the trading post, and tourists are advised not to try to access those sites. Now, you might wonder why we visited Fortymile in 2007, 2008, and again in 2019. Well, standing there is the great-granddaughter of Inspector Charles Constantine, my wife Libby, and that's kinda cool.